Hey guys, today we will be looking at what I think is a good thing to be doing post Modern Horizons 2 with LED Dredge. This isn't the video that I was hoping to do for this. The video I was hoping to do for this was a recap of the showcase challenge that I top 8'd, I want to say, late April. I top 8'd the showcase challenge that feeds into the showcase qualifier because of weird MTGO naming conventions that make no sense to anyone. And most importantly, got the profile picture that I've been trying to get. It's been my personal Magic the Gathering goal for a while. I know it's not a very impressive goal, but I wanted to get a little picture on MTGO to show that I managed to top 8 an event, because I thought that's a cool thing to do, cool thing to aim for. Hello, I talk a lot of nonsense here about what I think the meta is going to be because I recorded this, I want to say, in the first week after Modern Horizon 2's release. The metagame shifted a lot since then, so if you skip to the end of the video you can see what I think would be a good list to play now, if you even should be playing Dredge right now. I was going to go over the videos, the replays of that, and just talk through my choices because there were a lot of interesting choices. MTGO broke all of the replays with the Modern Horizons 2 update, so I couldn't do that. And then I was testing Grief out. I tried testing Grief out. Overall, my conclusion on Grief is that it's good as a one of, maybe. It's a million times better than Unmask, obviously, because it feeds to Icarid. But it doesn't actually help that much in the Delver matchup. Sometimes you can get hands where it just like makes your hand insane and like you literally can't lose. But a lot of the time it is kind of either win more or you just end up putting it on the bottom, a bit like Street Wraith has been since the London Mulligan. But I could see it being a one-of, much like I could see Street Wraith being a one-of in the list. However, today we will be going over this list. I have done 0 games with this list post Modern Horizons 2. This is exactly what I will be testing, however, and running, and I think this is probably a great starting point for the Modern Horizons 2 metagame. And I can say that quite comfortably because this is basically the exact same list that we were running back in the previous meta where Delver was stupid. Which one was that? The Rug Delver Snowcone meta? I think we were running basically exactly this, but maybe we did the Ashen Rider, Dread Return, Icarid, Oxvagonus swap because there was a lot of depths going around as well, because it was sort of the one thing that sort of matched up well against both Rug Delver and Snowco was depths. So you were encountering a lot of that as well. However, depth seems to have somewhat fallen off the radar. Everybody seems to be running the card Run Afoul because of Delver, which I think is just like complete collateral damage on the depths players. Then I've probably played against one depths player since Modern Horizons 2 dropped. This is, I think, pretty much optimal against Delver pre-board without warping the deck in such a way that you lose percentage points in another matchup. So for example, the one card that I think is actually not that great against Delver pre-board is the third breakthrough, just because drawing multiple breakthroughs tends to be very bad, and you'd rather just have another enabler like Careful Study versus Delver. But this is basically pre-boarded versus Delver, and Delver is the best deck. Delver's the deck to beat. Don't listen to the people online that tell you, oh, there's lots of people playing Endurance. Delver's not going to be the best deck in the format. People have found out how to counter Delver. Unless there's something crazy that's happened, Delver's been the best deck since Top Miracle's ban. It is what it is. Just accept it. Dredge has a pretty good matchup against Delver if you play it correctly. Let's talk about some card choices. 4 Icarids, 1 of Oxvagonus. I think Oxvagonus is really good against Delver. Hogak I think is really good against Delver. 3 Breakthroughs. Nothing much to say. This is the tried and true main deck at this point. If I'm going into a blind meta, I think you'd be crazy not to just sleeve up this exact 60. Sideboard, 3 Leyline of Sanctity, that's really important. There's a lot of endurance. I don't think there's enough endurance, and I don't think the endurance matchups map such that you want a 4th Leyline of Sanctity. I don't even think when it was Lurrus meta and everybody was playing Crypt Loop with Lurrus, and that was the only grave hate anyone was running in like any deck. I don't think anyone was playing. I don't think I was playing 4, but maybe I was actually. Let me check. But I don't think the meta's at that point, right? Endurance is clearly a thing. Endurance is clearly a problem. But yeah, even in that meta game, I was only running 3 Leyline of Sanctity. I think 4's overkill personally. Yeah, you can do it because we do kind of have a flex slot in the sideboard here. 2 Macabre, 1 Leyline of the Void. I was at 4. Graveyard decks have gone down a little bit, I think partly because the amount of endurance around at the moment. I keep 2 Macabre because I respect Oops. 1 Leyline of the Void because I like having a 1 Leyline versus Hogak and the Mirror and such, because Fairy Macabre's very bad there. 1 Lotus Petal, good against Delver, good to go fast against Death and Taxes. Ashen Rider, Dread Return, great when you need to answer problem permanents. 2 Stern Dismissal, 4 Nature's Claim. Maybe 6 Leyline Answers is overkill. That's 4th Nature's Claim could probably be a Firestorm. The 4th Leyline of Sanctity I said I don't want to run. A 4th piece of Graveyard Hate. In the previous meta, towards the end, before Modern Horizons 2 dropped, when everything was like Miracles, Snow Controls, running Surgicals, Relics, what have you, I was running a Memories Journey. In fact, I'm going to pull up Memories Journey because I think it's a very interesting card for certain matchups. I've tested with it a lot. I think it's actually gained a lot. Memories Journey, for some reason I have 8 copies. Target player shuffles up to 3 target cards from their graveyard into their library. What this allows you to do is it obviously allows you to protect cards in your own graveyard from Surgical. It allows you to stop yourself getting decked by Painter's Servant. It allows you to shuffle opponents' cards in their graveyard away if you're against like Reanimator or Oops All Spells. Oops All Spells, this is a very good card against Oops All Spells, because if you target their Dread Return and their you can wait for them to Dread Return Thassa's Oracle and just shuffle it in. Like after the Dread Return's gone, they can't win because they generally only run 1 Dread Return. Them to use the Dread Return, because otherwise, if you don't make them use the Dread Return, they can therapy. They can just pass the turn, draw, therapy themselves for the Thassa's Oracle, and then Dread Return it. If you don't make them use the Dread Return on the Thassa's Oracle before using Memories Journey. It is good to shuffle back Uros. That was the main thing I was thinking about with this. And finally, the last thing that this does, which is quite cute, is you can shuffle cards into Doomsday players' decks. Between that and Cephalid Colosseum, Doomsday is not having a good time. They've got to deal with a lot of stuff. The counter to all of this is some Doomsday players have started running a second Thassa's Oracle. You should be careful about that, but it's still very hard for them to combo off through Cephalid Colosseum, even with 2 Thassa's Oracles. Just keep awareness of that. So yeah, 4th Nature's Claim, just because I felt like maybe I want to try 6 Leyline Answers. That's pretty much all from the list. As I said, I've done absolutely 0 testing with this list. However, I'm fairly comfortable that this will be a good list in the metagame, because this has been a pretty solid list up until now, and I think this is pretty much where you want to be post Modern Horizons 2. Just try and dunk on Delver all day. And yeah, let's run it through a league, see what happens. Right, round 1 against Cable Wire. Not playing against this guy. As far as I can tell, this hand is unkeepable. Again, this isn't really where we want to be. This is great. This is why you mull to 5 people. Yeah, so my main concern at the moment, and pretty much every matchup's getting Endurance. Endurance is a problematic card. Ravenous Trap is basically the hardest card for Dredge to play around. I would say it's even worse than even worse than Leyline of the Void for us, because Leyline of the Void, you see it there and you know that you have to answer it before going off. Oh yeah, there's a breakthrough bug at the moment, as well as a Lion's Eye Diamond bug. There's a breakthrough bug that means that when you do X is 0, you sometimes end up with 1 card in hand. In this case, it doesn't really matter, but that is something to be aware of. When possible, I try and just play around it. Like if I have Putrid Imp in play, after the breakthrough resolves, if I've got 1 card left in hand, I'll just discard it, because like if you cast the card, it's like saying, well, maybe you're trying to like abuse bugs or something. You don't want to be abusing bugs. It's bad for the game. It's not right. Obviously, it's not your fault the game's bugged, but that doesn't mean that you should abuse it. Opponent just scoops, so could be a Leyline deck. Let me check I'm like 90% sure I've never played against this guy. Oh. Yeah, I never played it against this guy. So the question you have to ask yourself is, how much do you want to just like lose to blind Leyline? I don't really like losing to blind Leyline, so post board I often bring in some number of Nature's Claims. If my opponent like scoops and I'm like that was a situation where just about any deck scoops, but if they like scoop super quick, I like to think, oh, maybe they're on Leyline. The correct response to this, when you think, okay, well, they didn't scoop prematurely there, they were probably dead anyway, is just run it back. However, I kind of dislike just losing to Leyline like that. I often think that most players just show me if they're not a Leyline deck, so I'm just gonna do some trimming. I think I'm just gonna do that. I'm just gonna do that. 2 gives me something I can potentially draw to if I'm in a situation where I'm going to keep this because it can discard to hand size if needs be. That is bad. That is really bad. This is depths, I assume. They talk nonsense about how no one's playing depths and I get matched up against depths. Could be Pox. I hope it's not Pox. That's a good draw. I'm just going to do it on myself. I'm not going to try and guess what he's playing, it's a waste of time. It's a waste of time. Again, this is what I really like about this list rather than running a card like Grief. Obviously we're running 4 Cabal Therapies anyway, so it's not really a big deal. But when you're in a situation like that, the ability to know that you just have as many potential top decks as possible is like really nice. So it is depths. Hitting Narcomoeba here is great. We have no... Do I even want to? Because he's going to make a 2020. My concern is that he has Sajiri Step, right? So how much do I want to risk overextending into... I feel like because of crop rotation, I'm going to actually dredge here and try and hit another Narcomoeba so we can try and take that crop rotation. However, we didn't hit Narcomoeba and we did hit all our bridges. So clown emoji for us, I guess. Hope he doesn't have crop rotation into Shijiri step. Because we can't sack the Narcomoeba here, right? Like, it's not something we can do. Just hope he doesn't have Shijiri step. I'm not keeping my hopes up. Even if he doesn't have Shijiri step, this is like bad for us. Why did he discard my bridge? Unless he's gonna crop rotation. Yeah, there we go. Okie dokie. Well, what can you do? I wouldn't have blind sideboarded for it being depth, even if I could have. With the Bayou, this doesn't look like the Turbo Depths version, and also they've actually been trimming on the Graveyard Hate. So, do I want to bring in the Stern Dismissals is the question to ask myself. Might bring in one, just because it's an okay card anyway. But maybe I should just quit being a pansy and just go for it. In fact, maybe I will. Maybe I'll stop being a pansy. I don't think he's got Leyline. If he Leylines me, I'll feel like an idiot, but what can you do? That's sometimes the game you play when you play Dredge. Sometimes you get 2 of Leylined by a deck that doesn't often even run 2 of Leyline right now. Yeah, this is great. I'd have been kind of sad if that was a Stern Dismissal. Now, it's actually best to leave the Lion's Eye Diamond in the hand here, because playing it out opens you up to getting Abrupt Decayed on the Lion's Eye Diamond. Also, this has the other benefit of bluffing that we have with dredges, but possibly in hand than we actually do. So he'll be in a situation where if he has surgical, he'll be like, do I surgical Grave Troll? Then he'll have to think to himself. That's really good dredge. That is insanely good dredge. The other good thing about, like, I don't think they run many endurance in depths, but Leyline of Sanctity blocks both endurance and crop rotation into bog. Yeah, it's pretty nice. What is this pause for? You're trying to crop rotation? That won't work. A lot of people get confused if they're not experienced in the matchup by the Leyline of Sanctity. They don't realise that it stops the bog. They're a bit like, oh, it's just to stop the discard, right? And they don't realise that the real thing is that it stops bog. And then they do things like that, and you just get free wins. Most experienced depths players now are aware of the Leyline of Sanctity, Bajuka Bog interaction, but when I first started running it, a lot of people just did not clock onto it at all, and you'd get so many free wins. And yeah, there we go. Leyline Sanctity flexing its muscle in the depths matchup. It's quite hot, so I have the window open, people walking by outside. God knows what they're saying. So yeah, easy 2-1, pretty straightforward. Round 2 is against frickin' Ziggy Stardust, well-known MTGO streamer. He's a top bloke, big fan. I will keep this, even though it doesn't have a dredger. However, I played against him a few times. He's probably gotten decent at the matchup, I expect. I'm not going to play out both Lion's Eye Diamonds. One of the things you need to be careful of now is the obvious presence of prismatic ending, which can exile your Lion's Eye Diamonds. It used to be just run out your Lion's Eye Diamond, there's not really anything that can destroy it, but with prismatic ending they can actually get rid of your Lion's Eye Diamonds, so you need to be careful of that. Oh, that's really good. Maybe I'm going to Cabal Therapy him though, see what's going on before I try and go in. Force of Negation pitching Narset Parter of Veils. To me that says he's trying to protect something. Does he have an endurance? It's possible he has an endurance. Narset and Force of Negation are both ran in endurance decks. Tundra as well. My concerns are relatively high because people know who I am, right? They keep hands they wouldn't keep against other decks against me, so they can go haha look, beat you, which is fair enough. I don't resent them for it. Days Undoing as well. Suspicious. I think I actually do play out the second Lion's Eye Diamond now just to play around him having a second Days Undoing. And that's obviously a real concern. But the fact that he's shown me only blue cards, Days Undoing I feel like is not a card that you can fit in if you're running like the sort of endurance ban lists. I feel like that's more of a sort of a straight blue-white kind of thing. I'm gonna just name Swords to Plowshares here. Okay, he's running that burning. He likes this burning wish Hull Breacher list. That's his like pet thing, which is fine. Perhaps I should have done what I thought and just named Days Undoing. What's going on here? Hopefully he doesn't have a third land. What's he burning wish for? Pyroclasm. Yeah, that's a real thing he can do. I'm not too concerned about Pyroclasm though. Okay, that's really good. That is really good. So I know pretty much his exact hand. I have 2 therapies left in deck. I'm going to Faithless Looting them. If I get forced, I get forced. I have a second one. Sorry about that. I don't see any reason to do any changes here. I think we're pretty much pre-boarded against these control decks. We don't have something like, if I had a copy of Memory's Journey, I might bring it in here, but we don't. So, I mean, I guess we could cut the Lotus Petal and bring in a Dread Return, but I don't think it's necessary. I'm just going to run it straight back. This is great. I will keep this. Yeah, I mean, if he's got Cage, he's got Cage, right? It's not a card that I sideboard for, especially. I don't know how many cages he's got. We could probably bring him one-off claim over a pedal. So this is how you play against Cage, or how I tend to play against Cage. The aim is to try and cast a bunch of Golgari Thugs, basically, and then put Hogak on top of the deck when they die. If you have a Putrid Imp, that makes things easier. Okay, well, maybe I should have played Faithless Looting there to play around Pyroblast. Maybe that. I'm actually going to discard Stinkweed Imp here just to get an extra point of damage in. The number of cards in hand here actually does matter, but not enough for me to do something else. Yeah, so the aim is just to gum up the board with 1/1 idiots and just keep chipping in for damage. Putrid Imp's like the best card for this, so it's lucky that we drew it in the opener. It's just like bad beatdown, but sometimes it can genuinely work. Like, my opponent just kept a 1-lander because it had a Cage, and now he's, if he fair beats for the win, exactly. Use an Alchemy Visibility, yes, but it's not going to come in anyway. So I want to hit a bridge from below in the graveyard before he wipes my board with Pyroclasm or something. I'm just going to keep putting more crap on the board. That's my perfect. We hit a bridge. That's exactly what I'm after. Because now, if the board gets wiped, it's less of a concern. We have him down to 8 now, and he'll be taking, even if he gets a blocker, he'll be taking 4 next turn, assuming it's not a flying blocker. If he has a force here, I just force this like any day of the week. Like, this is looking really bad for him. Yeah, like he's forced to force this. Haha, forced to force. Because like he's got no choice, right? I assume he doesn't have like any cantrips or anything, or else I'd have definitely brainstormed like 2 turns ago if I was him. There we go. There's the land he was after. But I think it's might be a bit too late for him. Sure. I'm going to take a natural draw here. Perfect. I was after a draw land. Play a land, therapy him. Gonna name swords to plowshares, I think. Snapcaster Mage is obviously turned off because of cage. Swords seems like the biggest concern that we could have. Okay. I'm not too concerned about him having Hull Breacher, because we want to put him in such a situation where if he blocks it's actually bad for him, because we will end up doing more damage. Also, he's got to crack a fetch. Like, this is really annoying for him. We have to dredge here, because if we don't, we end up in a weird situation if he flashes in Hull Breacher and that it bricks our draws. We do not wish to use Narcum Invisibility, not that it matters. It does the same thing either way. Swing for 1. If he flashes in Hull Breacher and blocks, we crack Cephalic Colosseum and get a bunch of zombies. That's the plan. And then we still have the other thug around if he wants to Burning Wish for a Pyroclasm. We can also put Hogak on top of the deck with this. I'm going to dredge as much as possible here because I want to hit as many bridges as possible. I really want to hit another bridge. We didn't hit another bridge, however we did hit Hogak, which is really nice. However, it would have been really nice to hit a bridge. Like, where are my bridges? That's insane. Now I'm thinking, because of the fact that we know he's got a force, we know his exact hand, right? His exact hand is those 3 cards. So we know he's got a force for our Hogak if we cast it. However, he has to take 1 life to block to do so. Is it worth putting Hogak on top of the deck? It forces him to force, so it gets 1 damage in. And then the turn after we swing for 1, he blocks. Like, my concern right now is that he can Burning Wish for like, if we swing with the zombie, that wipes our bridges, and then he can Burning Wish for Pyroclasm and Pyroclasm our board away, and then we're pretty much locked out of the game. If we put Putrid Imp on top, he kind of just has to force that too, and we can still swing. So I think I'm just going to put Putrid Imp on top. maybe this is a bad play. I think if we hit more zombies, I'd have definitely put Hogak on top. But because of the fact that we didn't, I'm just going to put Future Imp on top. What's he burning wishing for? If he gets Days Undoing, that like forces us to swing, I think. Let's see what happens if we cast this. I'm shocked that resolved. Go to 1. I'm not sure about that, dude. There's no other Putrid Imps to put on top, so I'll put Hogak on top. I don't know, he's going to get a lot of treasures here, but he still needs to draw quite well to be able to answer our board. Because like any swing, why would he play that? He can't crack it. Surely he'd be better off just... I don't know. I'm not going to judge. I'm not the expert here. Oh, did Days Undoing crash my MTGO? Or, oh wait, no, I just need to respond to this. Yeah, it resolves. Are you dead? I don't see any reason not to give this flying. I'm either dead or I'm not here. If he's got 3 removal spells, then he's got me. Or like another Hull Breacher to flash in. But like if he doesn't, that's the other reason to give Putrid Imp flying. Like if he's got like two Hull Breachers here to flash in, then obviously you'd want Putrid Imp flying because he's only on 1 life. What is this? Is this like Solitude or something? Shark Typhoon? Plow? Plow block with Shark Typhoon token? Plow again? Okay, yeah, he got like a blocker and like 2 plows, so he got me. He got me good. Would we have been? We wouldn't have been in a better situation if we got Hogak there. We would have been dead either way. So there's two ways to think about this. We can either just try and go fast, or we can bring in a claim over the pedal. He's not an especially fast deck, so I think I'm going to do that. The pedal was like the worst card that we had there, I think. We were very close to winning that. I think if we hit an extra close but not quite. If we hit an extra no, I don't like that. If we hit an extra bridge sooner, I think we had that game, but we didn't. When we forced his block. Okay, this is good. Keep bottom. Open with the lion's eye diamond. Putrid imp. I mean, we could just get caged again here, but like we don't have no dredger, so I mean we could have kept therapy and therapied them blind and named cage, but I don't think that's a good way to play personally. Like, he doesn't have cage here, or he'd have played it 100%, so maybe he's got force negation. That would somewhat make sense here. But I might just name force negation here, because if we wait a turn and we draw like a if we wait a turn and we draw a dredger, this is good now. But we also know what we have to play around. And if we don't draw a dredger, this is still fine. Should have played out the Vista there. There's probably a reason not to. I mean, I'm potentially losing to surgical here, but I'm not too fussed about that. I think I just force him to flash in Daybreacher here. Discard that. There's no point doing it. X is 1. Oh, don't break me on. Perfect. I did not want to brick on dredges there. I need to fix this bug. The game has been very buggy recently. Lots of cards have been bugged. Conspicuous Snoop has been bugged. Apparently some of the cantrips have been bugged. Not that I know. I never play them. Oh, we know where Hogak is. I think I put the Hogak top of the pile. But I don't really want to go that deep. So maybe I have to. I only have one card left in deck. I don't want to do that. I'm going to take a thug here. Sacrifice Ox. Abandon Hope. I don't know why that keeps going off the side of the screen. Oh, I should think about what I'm exiling here actually, shouldn't I? because he can potentially shuffle it all back into my deck. So I don't want Narc Amoebas, I don't want to draw them. Oh wait, if he shuffles everything back in, I mean, we're probably like either we win or we don't, right? Like this is all a bit superfluous, but don't really want to draw that. Guess I'll exile some lootings. Why can't I? Why can't I? Oh, is it because of Hull Breacher? That's frustrating. So I'm going to one card whether I want to or not. That's really annoying. What a strange bug. I might have to file a bug report on that one. You should be able to choose not to dredge even if you can't draw. But I should have thought about that. I didn't want to let him get treasures anyway, so this is actually bad. But I don't think it matters here because I mean I guess it does actually because now Burning Wish is a live draw, whereas before it wasn't. So that was actually really bad there. But hopefully he doesn't draw exactly Burning Wish and we're good to go. But it looks like he's drawn something. Containment Priest is not going to do it for you, I'm afraid. Turn too late. GG's. That was strange at the end. Maybe someone that knows the rules in the comments, let me know if that's actually intentional, that if you're in a situation like that you're forced to dredge because you can't draw. I thought you could always just choose to draw, like because it's you can't you draw a card and then when you draw you choose to dredge, right? It's not like you draw a card and then because you can't draw you're forced to dredge. Like it's always something that you choose, right? So normally there's just a button there, like it says like when you go to draw a card, right? You can cancel and just draw a normal card. I don't know. Anyway, those were interesting games actually, especially the game 2. I think that's evidence more than anything that you should just play to your outs. Just make them have it. Yeah. Right, round 3 against Engulfing Slagworm. I don't think I've ever played against Engulfing Slagworm. However, I would like to go first. This hand does nothing. Like it's got no dredger. It's only got one enabler. It's just a null. Hands like this are like very close to a mull for me. I think it depends. It really depends. There's a lot of good things about this hand, right? It's got 2 lands. If Putrid Imp gets forced, we can Faithless Looting, hopefully find another land, and then we have like a follow-up. On the blind, I think I'll keep this. But it's very, very close. Like, we do have stronger 5s for sure than this. We even have stronger 4s than this. Maybe this is kind of a greedy keep, but our opponent did kind of what I was hoping he would do, in that he forced the Putrid Imp, and that means that Faithless Looting is now a live card to draw us another land. Okay, this is a bit strange. Narset, Bloodstained Mire. What is this? Grixis control? Meta's weird right now. Oh, I got scared he was going to Thoughtseize me for a second there. Though if he does Thoughtseize me here, it's not the end of the world, because as I said, if we draw any land, we can... Oh, that's a great draw. Really good draw. In fact, apart from Lion's Eye Diamond, that might have just been the best draw. Maybe a second Faithless Looting is a marginally better draw here. but only because that can probably draw us into Colosseum. Oh my god. Wow, 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 guys. Wow, wow, wow. Okay, Snapcaster that. I'm actually just going to play out Lion's Eye Diamond and pass the turn. Having Cephalic Colosseum, the way we lose here is just like if our dredges suck and then we just like, I don't know, something bad happens. By passing the turn here, you're guaranteed that next turn you get off like 6 dredges, pretty much. Whereas if we just go all in here, we only get 2 dredges. I mean, I guess Ox of Agonis is like a card in our deck, so actually that's not that bad here. But it's generally unless you really have to go in, you generally don't need to go in, right? You can play a bit of a slower game. I want to see what we're up against. I'm going to name Brainstorm if this resolves. Cling to Dust? Fatal Push a Zombie, that is not it. Oh, I named Brainstone. This is my new least favourite thing. I used to just type brains. I used to just type brains into Cabal Therapy window to find Brainstorm. Now, Brainstone. And it's infuriating. Why? Why? There's simply no need. There's no need to print a card that's basically called Brainstorm, but is unplayable and is alphabetically before Brainstorm in the alphabet. Just don't do it, because you make me very unhappy. I did it against I mean, this game it wasn't so punishing because they didn't have it, but I did it against a guy a few leagues after the MH2 came out, and the dude had Brainstorm in his hand. I named Brainstone by mistake, and he had Brainstorm in his hand. Can you imagine the utter pain in my heart? So this is Grixis control. We don't have the sort of like sledgehammer that we used to have in this matchup, in that we don't have what was the card? Silent Gravestone. That used to be like amazing in the Grixis control matchup because it used to turn off all their surgicals and their snapcasters, and that used to be pretty much everything they'd run. Lotus Petal's not really what I want to be against Grixis control. I don't think it's an especially good card. Leyline of Sanctity's, I think, a marginally better card here because it turns off Nihil Spellbomb, turns off Thoughtseize, turns off things that target me. I don't know, like Ravenous Trap, I guess. I don't think anyone runs Ravenous Trap. Could also bring in a Dread Return here instead of the Leyline of Sanctity. I don't know. But if I had Memory's Journey in the list, I'd be bringing that in here for sure. Any snap surgical deck, that would be a good card to bring in. Obviously, Silent Gravestone would be a better card, but I don't think Silent Gravestone's worth it at the moment. There's not enough snap surgical decks in the metagame. Basically, the Miracles decks aren't running Snapcaster anymore. And even if they are always even running Surgical. They're on like Ice-Fang Quaddle, Endurance. They don't have space for Snapcaster. Snapcaster's been power creeped out. Isn't that sad? Isn't that sad? I thought Snapcaster was such a lame BS card when it first got printed. I was like, wow, what a ridiculously overpowered card. Did blue really need that? Was what I thought to myself. And now look. On the draw against Grixis control, I actually kind of like this. If we get Thoughtseize, this is like absolute garbage fire. But if we don't and he's just got a hand of counter spells, this is really good. Also, discarding to hand size when we have 7 in hand, baiting a surgical, you're gonna have a lot of balls to just straight up, well, this is actually better. This now changes things. With Putrid Imp, I think it's actually worth just casting Putrid Imp. Because Putrid Imp's more punishing, right? Putrid Imp's more punishing if they have if they surgical the Grave Troll. If we've got Putrid Imp in play and we discard Grave Troll, we threaten to just discard another. Whereas if we discard the hand size and we do that, then it threatens to yeah. He can surgical with. He knows that I'm not doing anything for another turn cycle, right? Like the fact that this resolved, and he's holding up some stuff. I'm actually just going to take a natural draw. Maybe that's greedy, but I want to just therapy him first, I think. Just see what's going on. If this gets Force of Negation, then I know what's going on. But I'm going to name Surgical Extraction. Cling to Dust. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. I mean, we'd have got Cling there instead, right? Maybe we just run this into the Cling to Dust. I think that's the best play. Like, if we get clinged, we get clinged, right? And this also threatens to, okay, if you're going to cling me, then I will just discard another Dredger. So maybe he won't want to do that. But like, I don't really see how we play around the cling here, so I'm just gonna play into getting my Grave Troll clinged. Yeah, it's fine. There we go. I'm going to discard this and Icarid, I think. So there's Cling to Dust gone. He cracked his fetch, so Brainstorm. Yeah, the reason not to discard the second Dredger there, I think, is because this plays around Spellbomb. There's a Polluted Delta, there's the Brainstorm. Mismatched Brainstorms, that's something. I mean, your choice of Brainstorm art was already sus, but mismatching them? Nah. Do I want to open myself up to getting surgical here? I don't think I do. I don't see the need. Maybe red elemental blast. Okay. The force is a problem. I don't want to just run my thing into a force though. I don't think it's worth it. Like, he's got so many blue cards to pitch. Like, he's got 2 Snapcasters and a Baleful Strix. Yeah, I kind of just like doing this. Because then if we hit another... I'll attack with Narcomoeba, I won't attack with Icarid. Now he could just snap cling my Stinkweed Imp and then we're out of dredges, but I think that's fine. The other option is that he clings the bridge here, which is the reason why I didn't want to attack, because if he snap blocks Icarid, takes the bridge, exiles Stinkweed Imp, we have like basically nothing, whereas if we just go to end step then we have something. Like if he snap clings here, then our Stinkweed Imp's safe and we get a dredge. Sure. I actually kind of really like this because it means that he can't just like, if he gets to another land next turn, he can just like escape cling like for like twice. I mean, like, it's not great, but like it's fine, right? He has no red elemental blast anymore. He's got a lot of cards in hand. Ponder, Spooky. Really just trying to hit another therapy here. Chooses to not shuffle. Real spooky. Spell Bomb. There you go. That's a card I'm scared of. But this is fine though. If we draw like a looting or something, we're in like an okay spot. If we draw like LED, I think he's kind of like forced to force it. Do I want to run my zombie into his snap? I don't think so. Wow, I can't believe that resolved. Gonna keep line. No, we've got 3 Faithless Lootings in exile. I'm actually gonna keep Careful Study. Do we? Therapy? No, I think we dredge. I think we dredge next turn before we do anything with Therapy. If he has like a second Spell Bomb, this is bad, but it is what it is. So we've still got 2 Icarids, 3 Bridges, Hogak, Ox still in the deck. Jace. Don't Ashiok. I'll be real sad if this is an Ashiok. Really upset. Colligan's Command. Jace. Okay, that's fine. So I want to resolve this careful study, but I know he has a force. This is going to be another cling on a bridge. No. He's going to bolt his snapcaster. That's really good because that gets Jace off the table. That's actually great for us. I really like this for us. If we name Force of Wheel. Oh, I really like this. How many therapies we got left? 2. Killed Jace off. I think we just get rid of his Snapcaster because that's like the scariest card by far. Obviously Brazen Borrow is like a problem, but like it's not like end of the world problem. Like bouncing our Icarid to our hand is annoying, but like not the end of the world. Snapcaster can just like snap a surgical if he finds one, and then we're just like game over. Oh, that's a really good dredge. Petty theft on Icarid, sure thing. Casting Ox here. I want to hit the last bridge. Fairly certain we didn't bottom a bridge. Maybe we did bottom a bridge and I'm just forgetting and I'm not going to hit the bridge. Okay. Oh, that's a nice draw because we can cast both of these cards now. Spookiest card they could have is like Toxic Deluge. It's just a swamp. I'm not playing out the land there because there's no reason to. So like this is pretty much how this is like metas ago, but this is sort of how like the Dredge Grixis Control matchup back when Grixis Control was a thing. That was like before Renin 6 era, before like Modern Horizons 1, before like War of the Spark. Grixis Control was a deck back when people were still like, you know, thought Colligan's Command was a playable card because they'd not printed like 3/3 flyers that fix your draws for 1 mana. Back then, this was how the Grixis Control matchup always used to go. It used to just be like this slogfest, and they'd just be like doing stuff, but they'd never do anything relevant. Like the most relevant thing they'd do would be like snap surgical. Like if his cling was a surgical there, we probably have a bad time. Like we probably can't win unless we can like get him to bait things like surgical things that like aren't a good surgical target. Like sometimes if they like surgical like 1 dredger and then like 1 threat, then you can win. But if all they're doing is just like ponder, brainstorm, red elemental blast, force, snap, and we got spell bombed, it's not like they didn't find hate. They found hate, but it just wasn't relevant. It's just like they're all of their cards line up so badly against us that they're like in such a terrible position. Like, at least miracles, they can like terminus you and put all the stuff on the bottom, or they can like swords your Icarids. The Grixis control can't really do that, so they have a really, really hard time. This isn't a matchup you'll see very often, because these sort of, why would you play red black when you can play like green blue, basically? Like, there's no reason to play red black when green and white just add so much more now. It's ridiculous. But yeah, that's the Grixis control matchup. I thought that was quite an interesting game, actually. Yeah, hopefully that was an enjoyable one. Right, time for round 4 against One Ride or I Ride. I mean, this is a keep. It's just a matter of how I want to do this. I think how I'm actually going to do this is I'm going to leave with Lion's Eye Diamond, and I'm going to therapy myself. The reasons for doing this are twofold. One, if we just get forced here, we still have a therapy. Two, if we try and go off this turn, and we brick on dredges, that's really bad, right? We've just lost our LED, and we've only got like 5 cards deep, and we don't hit a looting. Like, that's just like terrible, right? We probably lose the game from that point, even though this is like a really winnable game. Oh, we might just be dead. We might just be Black Red Reanimated here. I'm like not got a sideboard for Black Red Reanimator, really. I've got like 3 cards. I chose to have a 4th Nature's Claim instead of another piece of graveyard hate. Oh, that's just awful as well. That's really bad. Yeah, punished for that. But I mean, look, right. Why is he not paying more life? Let's draw a Dredger, I guess. We didn't draw a Dredger. So we would have seen this card, the next 2 cards, and the card after. I'm going to sack this now, put Icarid on top just to get a card deeper, but I think we're pretty much not going to win this game from this point. Yeah, this is really awkward. Entomb, best card to name here is Entomb, I think, because... Okay, did have another Entomb. Yeah, so we'll hit the Icarid next, because we've seen 3 cards deeper than what we had at the start. So whatever cards after the Icarid is what we would have dredged with the Golgari Thug. So for all you results-oriented gamers out there, we can see whether I was pumped for not just going for it turn 1 there. I mean, obviously, if he like reveals a Chancellor, even if he reveals a Chancellor, I don't think we go for it there. Maybe we do. Maybe it's close. If he puts Elishnorn and we just scoop, we like literally can't beat Elishnorn. Chancellor. I mean, we can beat that. Oh, Exhume again. I didn't think of that. But yeah, that kind of fucks us. Yeah, we're like actually dead now, because we can't do anything with top decking Icarid next turn. Yeah, perhaps I should have named Exhume there actually, but I mean, I don't think we're winning this game anyway. I'm just going to scoop here. This game's over. So we don't have the Memories Journey, which is really nice in this matchup, and we don't have a 4th piece of graveyard hate. So we would have bricked on dredges if we tried to go off turn on there. So just for you results oriented people out there, we would have been just as screwed. So you take out anything that you don't want that they can threaten to reanimate from your graveyard. Now, in fairness, now we only have one ley line. That's not as much of a problem, but like realistically, Hogak's not really that big of a deal in the matchup. So I take it out. We don't have too many good cards. Putrid Imp's like a pretty bad card in the matchup overall. So, like, given I don't have an extra card to bring in, I just bring in one Stern Dismissal. Like, you can bounce a Gristlebrand, I guess, or if they go for like a Chancellor. Or you can like bounce Animate. No, you wouldn't want to bounce Animate Dead, that's dumb. But you can bounce, like if post board they try and just go for a Elish Non instead of like getting a Gristlebrand first, you can just bounce that with Stern Dismissal. Yeah, so bring in the 3 Macabres, take out the Putrid Imps, they're just too slow in the matchup, it's not where you want to be. Bring in the Lotus Petal to go fast, bring in all the graveyard hate. As I said, we don't have too much graveyard hate here. Maybe we should have a fourth piece of graveyard hate in the board. I mean, we've not played against a single leyline deck this league, so 6 pieces of leyline answers is probably too much. Yeah, I mean, we keep this. We keep this. I got scared he was going to reveal his own leyline there, because that is a thing. That is a thing that these black-red reanimator decks have been doing recently. They've been running their own leyline, which I think is like insane. Like, maybe oops is much as a problem for them that they have to do that, but like, you genuinely do need the sideboard slots as black-red reanimator. They want things like Xantid Swarm. It's a really good card for them. Obviously, we can't make best use of Xantid Swarm because it doesn't help our game plan like in the slightest. We'd rather just run more loot spells. Yeah, again, this is one of the reasons you side out all of your fatties. He can potentially discard something that we don't want him to discard from us, and then we're in a bad spot. We're looking for an enabler here. Looting's obviously the best draw. Drawing a dredger. If we draw a dredger, I'll just crack Lion's Eye Diamond. We're basically in a race to see who can get going. Like, can he answer my leyline before I just managed to find a way to kill him? Right now it's looking pretty bad given that he had a Thoughtseize as well, but what can you do? He had like Chancellor and Thoughtseize. We did the best play we could turn 1, which was just play out the Lion's Eye Diamond. Obviously that potentially opens me up to getting wear-teared, but like, I'm not too worried about that. I could play out the Cephalid Colosseum here, but I actually don't think there's a reason to. Leaving it in hand might make them think that we have like something relevant that they need to discard. And we could just play it next turn. It's only bad if we draw like a cantrip next turn. Oh, does he have an answer to Leyline of the Void? Okie dokie. Yeah, this is what I mean. Like, he's not going to bother wear-tearing. It's like, why would he bother using 3 mana? It's not like the Lion's Eye Diamond being in play is not relevant to him in the slightest. Yeah, I think we lose here. That Chancellor really stuffed us up. But maybe... Oh, he's Thoughtseizing me. Yeah, see, this is what I mean. Maybe we're actually okay, because one of the cards in his hands... Oh, wait, no, he discarded Chancellor. Oh, he's got Entomb. Okay. Oh, yeah, he exiled it when he did the looting. Whatever. Gristlebrand. Oh, but he can... Well, that was bad of him, because... Now he... Now he can only do that once. If we draw a Dredger here, we're actually in an okay spot. Like, we're not in a terrible spot at all. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We can potentially make something happen here. Um, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I could swing the Narcomoeba in and get the... I could swing Narcomoeba in, make him block, because he'll block because he wants to gain 7, right? And then I could go off, but he'd be drawing another 7 cards. I feel like if I let him draw another 7 cards, his chances of just being able to lock us out of the game is too high. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to pass the turn. I know that seems a bit stupid, but I feel like it's just a losing play to swing in. Like, I don't think we can do enough. Like, we've got no Hogak. We're just letting him draw 14 cards, basically. We just have to hope that he draws, like, nonsense, right? Like, just draws a bunch of cards that aren't relevant. I will block here, though, because this lets us go off end of turn, which I think I will do. I think I'll do that. We're missing out on potentially we are missing out on potentially hitting a looting off of the Cephalid Colosseum and keep going more, but we are gaining the ability to get 2 Icarids into play next turn. So he's not got much here, like, at all. The worst thing that could happen here is he like discards our Thug, and then actually he can't do that now because we can just Cephalid Colosseum in response. We're actually in a pretty okay spot as long as he doesn't Elish Norn us. If he Elish Norns us, this game's just over. But it seems like his hand's just full of like fast mana and like discard spells, because like he's not doing anything relevant here. Maybe he's just going to dig a bunch. Exile's Thoughtseize, yeah, he doesn't want to cast it because he doesn't want to lose life. Makes sense. He's just digging, trying to find something to reanimate. The worst thing for us would be if he just reanimates the other Gristlebrand and puts it in untapped. That would really suck. Entomb for Elish Norn. Grave Titan. Exhume. In response to the Exhume, I think we're supposed to go for it. Because we could hit like a Grave Troll here, or we can hit Grave Troll. Okay, we hit nothing of relevance. Nice. Yeah, I think we just lose now for sure. Oh well. I did say in the deck tech that we're skimping on Grave Hate. So I guess we deserve this. Narcomoeba. He could reanimate our Golgari Thug here, which would be really bad as well, because we didn't hit another Dredger. Yeah. He has a Fairy Macabre. This is what I mean. Like, why is Black Red Reanimator running Fairy Macabre? Like, I get that Oops All Spells is a deck, but like, they don't run any Graveyard Hate. They both do the same thing on turn 1, right? Like, they're like, they discard all the cards from the enemy person's hand. Oops just kills you. Well, like, what's the point of running Graveyard Hate? I don't in Black Red Reanimator. I don't see the point. Like, for us, it makes sense because Black Red Reanimator is a terrible matchup. I don't think Oops is that bad of a matchup for Black Red Reanimator that they need to. Like, if they reveal a Chancellor, even on the draw, that seems like it's really good against Oops. Yeah, I mean, we're pretty dead here. Wow. Okay, I'm just going to skip. That was like our only other way out there. Okie dokie. Clearly he wants it more than me with Fairy Macabres in his Black Red Reanimator deck. Yeah, that was frustrating. I don't think Black Red Reanimator is a terrible matchup. I think we got a little unlucky there. Like, he had the Chancellor on the draw. I feel like Chancellor's the sort of card that you want to shave. He probably did shave, but he probably just had like a few left to fit in your leyline answers, and he managed to cantrip into a leyline answer before we drew anything relevant. Yeah, it happens. Oh well. Alright, round 5. Let's try and get the 5-0. Not the 5-0, sorry, the 4-1. Can't get the 5-0 anymore. Yeah, I mean, we've not seen a playable hand. This, however, is a playable hand. Are we on the play? I don't know. I don't care. I just jam this either way. Obviously, this gets a bit worse on the draw if they've got like a Daze deck. Oh well, we've got a Ox and 3 more lootings that we can hit still in the deck. Frickin' Death and Taxes. I mean, this is bad against Solitude, which is obviously a card that's now a thing. Like, but I don't think I want to not return this here. I think the correct name here is Thalia, even though Stoneforge Mystic's also a problem. Thalia is kind of more of a problem because but watch him have Stoneforge Mystic and not Thalia, and then we just die to a Batterskull because we don't hit any therapies, and then that'll be really bad and I'll look stupid. What is this lag? There's the Stoneforge and 2 Recruiters and a Flicker Wisp. Wow. Maybe he's stupid and he fetches up Caldra. Maybe we are okay. I mean, our chances of hitting like a looting next turn are like really good. Like, if you actually run the maths, our probability of hitting a looting, I mean, given that we've not hit anything, but like, if like, why'd you get Batterskull? That's no fair. Okay, we hit the looting. We hit the looting, boys. We did it. I think, do we just sacrifice? We can get an extra 2 damage here. However, I think losing our bridges is bad. I think we might be in a bad spot if we lose our bridges. So I'm just... and don't get any zombies for it. So I'm just going to swing with Icarid here. Maybe I could have got an extra 2 damage there. But I feel like if he blocks, we're potentially in a problem. Like, Recruiter can go fetch Solitude here. If he blocks, like he blocks, then he could go Recruiter, Solitude, Solitude us. Like, that's bad, right? That's really bad. Spirit of the Labyrinth doesn't do anything against us. If I swing with everything, he potentially blocks a zombie, chumps. Yeah, we don't want to do that. I'm returning Hogak here, even though he has a Caracas, just to make him tap the Caracas. I don't want him to be able to potentially... I mean, if he's got a plow, he can plow here, right? But I don't want him to be able to, like, do it all and then have, like, Recruiter next turn. Like, I want to try and, like, use up some of his mana. So he no longer has Batterskull. He no longer has Plains. We know his exact hand is of those 4 cards. I hope he swings with the germ. In fact, if he swings with the germ, is it best to... No, because he can just Flicker Wisp the Batterskull. I was going to say, is it worth killing the germ, but I don't actually think it is. He casts a Recruiter here, right? He's got to. And then holds up Flicker Wisp. And then I'd have to do some awkward combat math. Yeah, this game's awkward because he had Stoneforge Mystic, but targeting a zombie token, doing that at sorcery speed, I really dislike that as a play. Unless he's got second Flicker Wisp. If he's got second Flicker Wisp, that play kind of makes sense. But otherwise, that play does not make much sense, I don't think. Oh, wow, he scoops. Yeah, I was going to loop Hogak a bunch and make like 8 more zombies and then just swing next turn. Just be too wide even for Batterskull. I think the opponent played that like really poorly there. Like if he leaves up bounce Batterskull, that's really bad for us as well. Like we have a lot of options. Obviously, if he bounces Batterskull to stop us getting bridges, like we can then take it out of his hand with therapy. So it's like a little bit sketchy, but yeah. So how do I like to side against Death and Taxes? As I've said before, and I'll keep saying, the best way to beat Death and Taxes is to ignore their hate and go under them, okay? Your aim in the matchup is not, under any circumstances, to try and answer their hate pieces. They've got too many, they're 2 different types, They've got like Containment Priest, they've got like Rest in Peace, they've got like Grafdigger's Cage, they've got like Surgical Extraction, they've got like various numbers of all of these cards. You ignore them, you aim to go off before turn 2. That's your window. Sometimes you get caged on turn 1 and you're like, yeah, whatever, you caged me on turn 1. But your aim is just not to get killed on turn 1. Now, I will say, Putrid Imp's also a terrible card in the matchup. I think Putrid Imp's overall a really good card, but much like in the Black Red Reanimator matchup, where it's all about going fast, in the Death and Taxes matchup, it's also all about going fast, but for completely different reasons. I don't think Putrid Imp's that great. So we want to bring in a Lotus Petal. I think keeping in 2 Putrid Imps too many. I bring in 1 Nature's Claim. I think leaving 1 Putrid Imp in is fine. It's Icarib food. You can sometimes like go like Petal, Putrid Imp, land, discard, go off. So I think there's some argument to leaving 1 in, but I think 2 in's too many. I bring in 1 Nature's Claim. Our goal isn't to answer, hey, if we draw it and they like turn 1 cage us, we get to laugh at them a little bit because like, haha, we draw our 1 of and you drew your 1 of. I keep this because we draw, we Lion's Eye Diamond Cephalid Colosseum, and we've got 2 dredges so they can't Surgicalize. It's not great, it's not amazing, but does it potentially let us hit a name Rest in Peace turn 1? Oh, even better. Perfect. But we're not going to play this slow. We're not going to play this slow. We're just going to go for it. Like, obviously this is a better draw because it means that we can potentially hit Ox as well. And we just get an extra draw, right? So like this is just better for us. Also we get to keep a land around so we can pay for Thalia attacks. Like drawing looting there's just like, I mean obviously Breakthrough's like the best draw, but and we hit the Ox, which is great because that plays around Surgical on Narcomoeba if that was something that they were going to do because we had 2 dredges. Obviously if they have Solitude, kind of sucks, but what can you do? We lose more to Rest in Peace than we do to Solitude. He's got a plow, he should use it now. It is not looking good for our opponent. We have all 4 Cabal Therapies in our graveyard and all 4 Bridge from Belows in our graveyard. I mean, he could have Solitude, but even if he's got Solitude here, he's still not in a great spot. Sure. I mean, that would have been really bad if I hadn't hit any Narcomoebas there and then I was just able to sack the Ox for value when I otherwise wouldn't have been able to. Rest in Peace. Oh, it's Containment Priest. Oh well, I don't care, because I went off turn 1. There you go, that's how you beat Death and Taxes. People overthink the matchup. The matchup is very, very simple. You just play your deck. And yeah. 4-1. We lost to Black Red Reanimator. Okay, what can I say? Since I recorded this video, Delver's the best deck. Delver was the best deck. Delver still kinda is the best deck. It's got the most metagame percentage and it's still consistently putting up results. It's still winning challenges. However, the deck that preys on the best deck is Bant Control, which is basically the old Snow Codex, except they don't have Oko anymore and they've not had Oko, the sort of Bant Uro control decks we've been seeing. But now they're main decking like 3 Endurances. If you know anything about this deck, you'll know that these sort of snow control decks were one of Dredge's better matchups. However, when they have 3 main deck Ravenous Traps, it's not such a good matchup. It's actually quite bad. Post board we get Leyline of Sanctity, which is a good card, but they're not really what you want to be bringing in against bank control. But just the fact that you can just get repeatedly Ravenous trapped out of game 1 by what was previously one of our best matchups has somewhat stunted deck in the metagame right now. If someone came to me and said, "Hey, what I want to play Dredge for an event, give me your best list," I would tell them, can you literally play any other deck? Like, do you have the ability to play another deck? It's not just the bank control matchup. Obviously the fact that they've got 3 main deck Ravenous Traps is a problem. Dredge, more than any other deck, gets hurt by endurance, I'd say. I don't think any of the other graveyard decks get hurt as bad. Maybe Oops does, but I feel like Oops could probably Oops is hard because it's so all in, but they have main deck Thought Seizers and stuff. Maybe we need to look into the Grief version, but you kind of like putting a band-aid on it. Like, you can still win it, it's just tough. Post board it gets a bit better, but you just need to you sort of have to play it like you do like playing against depths and just never overextend, which is kind of not how you want to play against control, because if the games drag out, they can just outgrind you. But it's not just the bank control matchup. There's also these Urza Saga decks, which all have main deck graveyard hate, like 1 piece of main deck graveyard hate. So you're like, this isn't a problem, it's 1 piece of main deck graveyard hate. But sometimes they just randomly draw it in their 7, so you just like lose game 1 because the decks just have like a one of, it's like, oh, they drew their main deck Bajuka Bog. It is stupid. And like, if you're not quick enough, they can get it, but like, that's less of a concern than them just drawing it. That's the real problem. Like, you go, oh, I'm going to cast turn 1 looting, your opponent just untaps, plays the land, casts Soul Guide Lantern, exiles your Dredger, and then you've got to find another Dredger and play through the Lantern. You're not winning that game, most likely. And then the other decks, the meta game's basically Delver, Bank Control, Doomsday. So Delver's a good matchup, but Delver's gotten Channeler. Channeler is probably the scariest card for us. Imagine Delver of Secrets if Delver of Secrets fixed your draws and found you like Wasteland, Surgical, counter spells. It just finds them that extra card that they need a bit easier, because it makes all of your cantrips like 33% better. Bank Control has 3 main deck Ravenous Traps, and Doomsday's Doomsday. Like, it's a winnable matchup. I don't think it's bad, but they can just like turn 1 Dark Ritual Doomsday you. And then you can tech for it, like Memory's Journey. I think that card you can tech for it for sure, but I don't know. Maybe actually maybe you should tech for it. Maybe it's better than Fairy Macabre, because it also doubles up versus Reanimator and Oops having Memory's Journey, and it messes with Doomsday, and it also protects you from Painter, which is another one of these Saga decks which just came up. Actually, the more I think about it, the more I like that. And then the other deck that's not the Saga deck is, you've got these Maverick Depths decks. Maverick Depths is straight up Dredge's worst matchup. It doesn't get worse. If you thought about a deck and put in every card that Dredge doesn't want to play against in one deck, you basically make Maverick Depths. That's basically what the whole deck is. It's abysmal, and for some reason that's super popular right now, probably because it sits in like position between those 3 decks I mentioned, Doomsday, Delver, and Bank Control, where it can like sort of play a game against all 3 of them. Maybe not Doomsday as much, but if you put down like a Thalia and like a Clock, they probably struggle. So it's just also in the decks that aren't that, like so tier 1's those 3 decks, tier 2's the Saga decks and the Maverick Depths decks, and then the other tier 2 decks are like just random decks with endurance in. It's bad. I'd avoid playing Dredge right now. It's probably the worst Dredge has been positioned since I start playing the deck. But anyway, the main deck here is the same as what I was playing in this deck. However, we've got a few cards in the sideboard. Ray of Revelation. This is good against the Saga decks. It removes Saga. That's basically all it does. It just stops them from hitting their tutor for graveyard hate on turn 2. You're like, well, what if they draw it? If they draw it, they draw it. The other options, you play Shenanigans. But the problem with Shenanigans is, if they fetch Cage, you can Shenanigans them, but if they just fetch up Soul Guide Lantern, it does nothing. So like if you have Shenanigans in the graveyard, they're not going to fetch up Cage. They're just going to get Soul Guide Lantern and Lantern you. So it's useless. You're still probably going to lose in that situation. Like hypothetically, you could rebuild from getting Lanterned, but in reality, you're probably going to lose, right? If they put 2 constructs in play and fetched up a Lantern, you're probably just lights out. So Ray of Revelation I think is more proactive. If they draw their graveyard hate, they draw a graveyard hate. Hopefully you can try and play through it if you see it coming. But I think you're better off trying to fight it by just destroying the Saga. Ray of Revelation does that. I just put in Memory's Journey. The reason why that card was, it was a Ferryman card before. I was testing 4 Leyline of Sanctities. That's how bad it is. I talked at the beginning about how bad I think 4 Leyline of Sanctities was and how in the Lurrus meta I didn't even play 4 Leyline of Sanctities when literally every deck was just Tormod's Crypt plus Lurrus. This right now is worse than that by like a long shot. So I was testing 4 Leyline of Sanctities. The sideboard mapping I don't think works out. I don't think it's worth it. Like even if you do bring in 4 Leyline of Sanctities and it's like a good matchup for it, like Maverick Depths, I feel like it actually just hurts you more than it. The 4th Leyline of Sanctity, like maybe. I mean, it's hard to know which time when you draw the 4th one and when you don't, but you've got to take out so many cards. Like you want to bring in this. And so if you do that, you want to take out this, you want to take out this, you want to take out this, and you probably want to take out these. But then if you bring in the 4th Leyline of Sanctity, you've got to either take out a Pimp or take out a Golgari Thug. And then you're like super low on enablers, or you're just like cutting dredges, which you don't really want to be. I don't think it's a worthwhile use of the sideboard slot. And the only matchup really where I bring that in is Maverick Depths, I think, or like other random decks where I know that their all their graveyard hate's just like Bog, Endurance, yeah, like that sort of stuff. But I think overall, Dredge is not well positioned right now. So that's the reason why I put the Memory's Journey in the sideboard just now. As I said, I was testing this before. It was mainly for the bank control decks, which are now no longer playing the cards that they had Surgical and stuff before. They don't have that anymore. You shuffle Doomsday piles and mess them around, and you protect yourself from Painter because Painter's deck. And you can also bring it in against Reanimator and Oops. It's just like they can't win through this card. They've got to do something about it. Probably marginally better than Macabre right now. Yeah, maybe it should be the 4th Leyline of Sanctity, but as I said, I tested it, wasn't a fan, really didn't like it. But yeah, sad news for me. Honestly, I've been playing a lot of Reanimator in leagues. I have been playing a lot of Dredge as well. Just because there's an event coming up. But unless the meta shifts, I think this deck is very poorly positioned, which upsets me a lot because this is my favourite deck. But I mean, you can still win games with it. Like you're still Dredge, so. And I don't think much has to change in the metagame for this deck to become very strong again. But right now it's just an uphill battle in things that were previously very good matchups. And then the things that were bad matchups have not improved very much. But maybe someone can innovate, come up with something good, come up with some grief list. I'm probably not going to be trying to do that. I'm pretty negative on it, but yep. Sadly, it's not any better news. You can definitely still do well with this, but it's just not as strong as it was. And I think Reanimator just lines up better a lot against a lot of what's going on. Like surgicals are at like all-time lows right now, and that's always good for Reanimator, and that's kind of bad for Dredge because we're good against surgical and not good against Ravenous Trap, attached to a 3/4 flying body. Yeah, thank you all for watching. The league went well. Remember to do the YouTube algorithm stuff if it excites you. If not, always appreciated just for watching. Thank you and goodbye.